Sorry, you all, for the last video where there wasn't any audio. I guess something happened with my microphone, but this video should be loud and clear. Um, the little boy on your screen is named Montrell Williams, and he was killed by his father. His father threw him in the river in the Bronx and watched him drown. They caught him on camera doing this. And when his mother saw him and confronted him, he told her, just as plain as day, that he killed their son. Now the family wants to sue the New York Police Department. Let me read something real quick before I get started. The grandmother of 2-year-old Montrell Williams spoke out Monday, a week after authorities recovered what is believed to be his body from the East River. Prosecutors say his father threw him into the river alive sometime in May. Arias Williams, 20, has been charged with murder and manslaughter and is being held without bail. The grandmother on Monday joined civil rights activists who say the family is planning to file legal action against the NYPD. She described Montrell Williams as a loving kid, caring boy, playful, joyful, adding, everybody loved him and everybody is just heartbroken. Everybody is sad, heartbroken, just in disbelief that somebody would do this to a 2-year-old boy. He was just a baby. She claims on Mother's Day, after the boy's father did not show up at the meeting location to return the boy, her 17-year-old daughter, the 2-year-old's mother, called 911. The grandmother said dispatchers told her it was a custody issue, and it was only the next day in court that a judge issued a wellness check and an arrest warrant for the father to bring back the child. When that didn't work, the family says police still told them the matter was in the hands of the courts and a missing persons case. The Reverend Kevin McCall, who is representing the family, says weeks later the mother and grandmother even found the father at a nearby shelter and alerted police about the arrest warrant, but the NYPD allegedly didn't act. That's when the family allegedly followed the father into Manhattan, and an officer there made the arrest. They called 911. She says, listen, my son's father in this shelter, he has a warrant. He needs to be found. I haven't seen my son in 3 weeks. They said, we're going to do what we can, but we advise you not to follow him, McCall said. McCall said the NYPD knew there was a history of domestic violence within the home, that within the home, they knew the father, the mother, their son, whether it was mental abuse or whether it was physical abuse, they knew that because of the history. Now, I want you to listen to the language and ask yourselves a question: who is being held accountable and responsible in this situation? We have a 17-year-old girl who has a 2-year-old child. The father is 20 years old. So that means she was 15 years old when she had this child, which means she got pregnant more than likely at 14 years old. And he was 17 years old. There's so much to unpack here, but out of everything to unpack, the only thing that's being pulled out of the suitcase is the NYPD. You see, when it comes to Black culture, victims represent a wrong being done. Victims represent accountability. So the goal is to either not highlight the victims or not make the assailant or criminals seem as bad. So in other words, in this situation, who is being blamed? The police is being blamed for the child's murder. The police is being blamed even for the domestic violence, because what they're saying is that the police knew the history, so they should have done something. Keep in mind that these parents obviously share custody. Keep in mind that a 14-year-old should not be having sex. Keep in mind that at the time he was 17, should not be having sex. Keep in mind that they should not have been having premarital sex. Keep in mind there are grandparents and parents around in this situation, but somehow in some way the responsibility is falling all on the NYPD. Nobody's saying that this young lady shouldn't have gotten pregnant. Nobody is saying that this young man should have gotten her pregnant. Nobody is saying that this should have all been avoided by these two children being children. But let's get into it.
We're here because of the police department.
Standing outside the 40th precinct, the toddler's grieving grandmother and civil rights leaders.
I just want to get justice for my grandson. My daughter graduates this weekend. He's supposed to be here to see her, and he's not.
The family says the police.
Montrell's father could be here right now, and his family. Would you say something to them?
This ain't about his father. It's about the police department. It's not about his father. He's not here. That's what it's about. Somebody needs to be held responsible, and we're here because of the police department.
Standing outside the 40th precinct, the toddler's grieving grandmother and civil rights leaders.
I just want to get justice for my grandson. My daughter graduates this weekend. He's supposed to be here to see her, and he's not.
The family says the police refused to label the case a disappearance because Montrell Williams was with his father, who had visitation rights but had a history of domestic violence.
The police should have been there when they kept calling, and they ignored the calls. They dropped the ball.
In response, an NYPD spokesperson said our detectives are always committed to conducting complete and thorough investigations, and the arrest of the baby's father is the first step in the pursuit of justice. Marla Diamond, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in the Bronx.
And again, we know what they said is a lie because the very next day, a missing persons report was filed and a warrant was issued for the father's arrest. So this happened the next day after the boy was reported missing, when the father missed the drop-off with the mother. So we know all of that was a lie. The next day, a warrant was issued for Arias Williams' arrest and a missing persons report was filed. So again, this is nonsense. The police were actively looking for the child's father, but they're saying that the police weren't. Again, Black people lie because Black people want to be right. They don't want to do right. They want to be right. And they will lie, cheat, and steal to be right. This is a cultural byproduct. This is a byproduct of Black culture, to lie excessively to appear to be in the right. Today's title is Black Culture and the Murder of Montrell Williams.
In the Bronx Thursday night, drawing a gasp and quiet sobs from the toddler's grandmother as she listened on in court. Her son, Arias Williams, in front of her, accused of doing the unthinkable after kidnapping little Montrell on Mother's Day.
Did he tell you what happened to Montrell?
At first he didn't say nothing. He was like, oh, he good, don't worry about it. He's all right.
But after an entire month of searching for her 2-year-old grandson, Montrell, prosecutors say that was never true.
I can't escape it. Like put a dark cloud over the Bronx.
Authorities in court said they recovered chilling video from the night of May 10th, showing the father putting his son on the ground for a moment, then suddenly picking him up while he was still alive and throwing him off the Bruckner Bridge into the Bronx River below. For the next month, the dad went dark, the toddler's 17-year-old mother and family members trying in vain to find him alive. Sources say they repeatedly went to the police and family court, but a missing person case wasn't opened until June 8th, when Montrell was already dead.
I went to the 40th precinct and asked them, can they help me? They said, what's the situation? I said, my son kidnapped my grandchild out of my house. They was like, oh, I can't help. That's your son is 20 years old. And I can't do nothing about that because he's legal. That's his father.
Finally, after 2 trips to family court, Montrell's mother was able to convince a judge to issue a warrant for Williams on May 22nd. And after running into him this past Sunday,
she was like, oh, give me my baby. But my baby is there.
Authorities say the 20-year-old finally confessed to killing their baby. The boy's body recovered by dive teams in the East River Wednesday morning.
Nobody should have the heart to do anything like this to a baby. Nobody.
So again, you know they lied because we already read, and you heard the guy say in this video, he said on May 22nd, the missing persons report was filed and the child's father, there was an arrest warrant. So again, he did not return the child, and the next day it was filed. So this notion that the police didn't do anything is just a bold-faced lie. The next day they went to court. The judge said, okay, missing persons report and a arrest warrant for the father the next day. Now, you all know you all have a no snitching policy in the hood, so it may be kind of difficult because you all don't like to work with law enforcement. So when law enforcement is looking for people, what you all do, black people, is you hide them. You don't tell the police where they are. So this young man was roaming around for a month. People saw him. Y'all didn't tell the police. Everybody knew. People knew. This is what you all do. You all have a no snitching policy. So that means when somebody gets killed, whether they are innocent or not, you all don't tell the police. You all don't work with the police, but then you want to blame the police. What black people are asking for is demonic. It's satanic. You all were just screaming, defund the police. You were just screaming, defund the police. Riddle me this. How is it during the Peter pandemic, the homicide rate in the black community skyrocketed? When everybody was on lockdown, how is it that in the black community, the homicide rate skyrocketed? Another riddle for you. How is it that every city that held a George Floyd protest, the homicide rate skyrocketed by 30+%? How is it that in cities that held George Floyd protests, the homicide rate in the black community went up 30+%? Cat got your tongue? Black people spell accountability RACISM. Black people spell accountability RACISM. Let's continue.
Son Montrell from a bridge. Prosecutors say Arias Williams threw his son Montrell from a bridge while the boy was still alive. Montrell's body was recovered from the East River yesterday, roughly a month after he'd vanished. Police say they have video of the father actually committing the murder. He's been in custody since Monday when police say he implicated himself to the boy's mother.
Investigators allege Williams threw the toddler into the water at Garrison Park in Hunts Point about a month ago, which was the last time family members saw Montrell. Now, police started the search for him on Monday when Williams reportedly told this boy's 17-year-old mother that he threw their child into the river. Investigators soon uncovered surveillance video that reportedly showed Williams throwing a bag into the Bronx River shortly after leaving his mother's home a month ago. Family members are now trying to make sense of why and how this all happened.
Nobody expected this at all, because he loved his son. But I don't know what drove him to this.
He kept calling him daddy. He trusted him. He trusted him. He took his life.
Prosecutors say
this man said that he loved his son, and I don't know what drove him to this. He didn't love his son. You see, this version of love that you all seem to be familiar with is called black love. This is not God's love. This is ungodly, satanic, and demonic. And I get told oftentimes that I hate black people, but no one hates black people more than black people. Again, the black community spells accountability RACISM. This man threw his son in the river alive on Mother's Day. I don't know what you all want me to make of that. This man threw his son alive in a river on Mother's Day and watched him drown. And at the end of all of this tragedy, at the end of all of this heartache and pain and grief, black people have the audacity to blame the police. The same police that they hate, the same police they want to defund, the same police they claim they don't want in their community. I want you to think about all of the scrutiny that black people place on police officers And then I want you to think about them now wanting this, in this situation, them now wanting to sue because they want money. You see, all the police numbers, they don't ever tell you all because they want you all emotional. Police account for 0.03% of the homicides in the Black community. 0.03%. That's closer to zero than it is 1%. Who do you think accounts for all of the other homicides in the Black community? Black people. But then I get told that I hate Black people. The CDC reported that the number 1 and 2 causes of death for Black men ages 1 through 45 was homicide. Black men are killing themselves, they're killing the women, and they're killing the children. But you can't focus on the victims because that means accountability. That means a wrong was done. What happened here was tragic, it was wicked and evil. But at the end of the day, this is what happens when the sins of the father fall up into the third and fourth generation. So this problem we see with the murder of Montrell Williams and murder in the Black community in general started generations ago. And Black folks don't understand that no matter how they feel about this thing called life, God is still the author and finisher of our faith. God is still sovereign. So that means just because you don't believe in God doesn't mean God doesn't exist. Just because you don't believe you aren't being held accountable doesn't mean that you aren't actually being held accountable. Everybody's being held accountable. Trust me, nobody's escaping any type of judgment. This is a tragedy. This is sad. It's horrific, but it just goes to show how deadly and evil and wicked the Black culture is. Because Black culture is going to be on the side of these people being upset with the police and not this young girl getting pregnant in the first place, or this guy getting her pregnant, or everybody knowing how both of them were. I'm pretty sure they had poor grades, and you know how this works. Poor grades in school, poor behavior, all of this stuff is a pattern that follows. Single parent households, all of these things follow each other. So at the end of the day, who do we blame? The police? I say we blame Black culture. I say we blame the Black community. Because anytime it comes for justice to be brought about for victims, Black people are the main ones standing in the way. My heart goes out to Montrell Williams' family and even Arias Williams' family. My heart goes out to the mother. Thank you.